Hey, Brendan, how are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing just fine, man. Big fan. I loved The Guest. Also, I loved Color Out of Space. Everywhere I looked,
Yeah, cool.
it pointed to you being a pretty big movie buff, saying you have extensive knowledge in live theater, film, and TV. So off the bat, I'm kind of curious what you thought of 2009. Like, what were some of your favorite films, overlooked gems, and maybe an opinion of the year as a whole?
Of this year
Of
or
2019, yeah.
2009? Oh, sorry. Yeah, yeah. I can go back. I thought you said 2009, and I was like, I mean, I have my favorites from 2009. I can go back there. No, I actually do. No, this year, what I really liked this year. Yeah, I mean, there were so many great films this year. I mean, some of the ones that rose to the top for me really were the ones that people are talking about, like Parasite. I thought was great. I'm a big Scorsese fan, so I thought that The Irishman was great, especially the stuff he did in the last, 30, 40 minutes of The Irishman really, I thought took some of those the types of men that he's examined before in sort of a new direction. So I really, really liked that. I liked Marriage Story. I'd say the one movie that I liked the most, but I feel like I don't see people talking about as much, was Ad Astra. I thought that was awesome. I thought that was one of Brad Pitt's best roles, and I found that really transporting when I saw it in a cinema. I thought it was really cool. Those are the ones that jump to the top as my favorites, but I could talk about that all day. I've got a lot of different things I like.
Did you see Uncut Gems?
Yeah, definitely. I really liked Uncut Gems. I like the Safdie Brothers movies a lot. I think Adam Sandler gave easily one of my top 5 performances of the year. I've always really liked Sandler, actually. I really liked him in Punch Drunk Love, but even Reign Over Me, if you remember that one, with Don Cheadle from way back, he was amazing in that. So I always, when Sandler, I mean, I enjoy Sandler all the time, but I eagerly await any Sandler dramatic role, because I feel like he always brings something to the table, and he's great. Uncut Gems is definitely one of my favorite performances.
I know you're a big Linklater fan, so I wanted to mention this because I thought you'd think it was interesting. Where I work and where I went to school, like for college, actually where I'm at right now is I'm in Huntsville, Texas, which is the city, town, whatever that Dazed and Confused is based off of.
Oh yeah, wow.
And Richard actually comes to the school quite a bit. The school that they use kind of as the backdrop for Everybody Wants Some is based off of this college.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, the Before trilogy are definitely some of my favorite films. And I was so cool. When we were at Sundance for The Guest, that was the same Sundance that Boyhood actually premiered at. And at that point, I've been following because I was a Linklater fan, and I knew that he was doing this thing over 12 years, and so I was able to get tickets. So I was actually there for the first ever screening of Boyhood, which was a pretty insane. I always remember that's like one of my all-time favorite movie moments. But that's awesome that you have that connection to Dave and Everybody Wants Him. That's pretty cool.
Awesome. So kind of keeping in mind with writing and directing, most people know you for your acting, but you do a bit of writing and directing as well. Can you talk a bit about A Job and Home Again, I believe, is in post-production. Can you talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, so it's been A Job was a short that I did. It's been a while now. It was a bit, because Home Again I just did, which was another short I did with my friend Emily McCord and her company. But it was a bit too long of a layoff in between them as far as directing. But A Job was a movie I did kind of following a hitman, and I think we filmed that in 2013. And then this new one, Home Again, is sort of about two friends who sort of reconnect, and they're going out to. We filmed it all in Drumheller in Alberta in the Badlands, so that was really, really cool. There's going to be some great visuals in this new one, but I'm about to get into the edit on that probably this month, so I'm excited. But I've been writing constantly all the way through, so I didn't write Home Again, but that's a phase that I'd really like to enter when I get the chance. But that's a whole nother grind of finding that great script that you really believe in, that you can champion, or the one that you can write yourself. But I'm definitely got my eye on it, definitely for the next few years. I definitely want to make sure I have to write and direct a feature in the next few years if I can.
That's so awesome to hear. Oddly enough, I while I live in Houston now, my family is actually from Alberta, Calgary, and a lot of them live in Drumheller. So
Oh, no way.
That's so wild, yeah. So.
Oh, no way. Yeah. We were there for about 3 days in October. That's awesome. I'm from Edmonton, so
yeah,
I've been there in that area a lot.
Pretty much neighbors, man. That's wild.
Yeah, it's cool.
So keeping that kind of in mind too, I want to jump from you to Richard Stanley. I'm sure you're familiar with him. This is his first film in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe working with him, and maybe his approach to directing? Was it a little bit different than other people you had worked with?
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, really, I have nothing but nice things to say. I really enjoyed my time with Richard, and his approach was. I mean, it wasn't radically different. I mean, he was really, but it was great. I think what's great is that Richard is such a creative mind, and he has such an amazing vision. And so, the ideas that he comes up with are so unique, and the script was so imaginative and creative, and he had this amazing vision of what it was going to be, which was awesome. But then I think what's great is that when we were shooting, he was just very locked in. I mean, he knew what he wanted, he knew how to get it, and it just ran really, really smooth, and it was easy as an actor to kind of slip in. He was very clear about what he wanted, and he, was very, very good at communicating, even because there's so much visual effects and things like that, so it didn't always look exactly like what it looks like in the film when we were acting opposite, and he did a very good job of telling us what was in his head, and whether it was showing us a drawing or just explaining it to us. He was very good at sort of bringing us into his world. So, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are probably going to ask about what it was like to work with Nick Cage. And while I'm sure that's pretty interesting, I'm more curious about doing scenes with Tommy Chong. What was that like for you?
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. And it's cool because he was actually born in Edmonton.
Yep.
That was kind of that was really cool. And I think his daughter was as well. So that was cool, but he was great. I mean, it was a very fun scene that we have, and this cabin, and the art department did such a great job of creating this really cool little cabin that Tommy's character is supposed to be living in. So yeah, it was great. I only worked with him for 1 day, but he was a really nice guy, and it sure was a blast.
And you have quite a few scenes with alpacas. I was what was that like, man? That's such a I know sometimes working with animals can be a little bit of a challenge. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was cool. Actually, the alpacas were easy to work with. They were really interesting animals to be around because there was 4 of them. There's this woman who owned a lot of alpacas, and she brought these 4 to work on the shoot. And it was amazing to watch them because they really had their own sort of hierarchy. One of them was the leader. One of them was a little bit younger than everybody else, and it was pretty cool. And it's interesting with alpacas; they are almost always making sounds and communicating with one another and checking in and call and response almost. And so it's really, they're very, very lively animals to be around in terms of just how they're interacting with each other and things like that. So that was pretty cool to observe. Then I probably had more scenes with them than anyone.
Yeah. And the film, they brought them over to Portugal. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, not from America, but yes, they were from Europe, yeah.
And
they weren't from Portugal.
Well, yeah. What were your impressions of Portugal? And because having seen the film, I never would have guessed that the filming took place outside of the U.S. But that, it just kind of didn't, I didn't get that vibe until I read a little bit deeper into it. So I was just curious on your thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, they still, it's great. I think what was great about Portugal is, and obviously I'm not exactly the person to talk to because that was the decision made before I was brought on to come on to Portugal, but I thought what it added was, like you said, it still feels like you're looking at, America or an American county, but it also had, I think filming in Europe and that part of Portugal specifically, because we weren't even really that close to Lisbon, the capital. We were further out, so it gave it that sort of otherworldly feel, like you were in sort of a Lovecraftian America, not just America itself. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the house wound up being a lot more impressive and interesting. You read it on the page, and you kind of just imagine a typical house. And when we got there, I was kind of blown away.
Yeah, it felt very lush yet separated. It was a pretty interesting environment to view on screen. We're getting pretty close to time, so I'll leave you with one more. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but I'm curious as to like what your favorite performance of Nick Cage was. Like, is there something that stands out as far as like, you know? There's so many to choose from, but I thought that'd be a good way to conclude it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, what's great about Nick is he's done so many different things. I mean, I think so. I feel like people talk about this performance a lot, but I think it is my favorite, which is Adaptation.
Yeah,
I think that's my favorite Nick Cage performance, if I had to pick one. But yeah, I mean, that's another thing. We could go on and on about a lot of the really cool stuff that he's done. So it feels there's so many great underrated performances he's given too. But yeah, I think if I had to go favorite, Adaptation is the one, man. Just the way he played those two brothers and the differences, and I don't know. I thought that was so awesome.
For some reason, I thought you were gonna. I would have assumed you would have said Wicker Man. I don't know why, but anyway.
Oh yeah.
Brendan, here at CineDump, we let the doers know how they're doing, and you're doing just fine, man. I appreciate your time. Excellent movie, and I look forward to the future as far as maybe directorial feature debut here soon, and I'll look forward to Home Again as well.
I hope so, man. Oh, yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I hope we can get that out pretty soon.
Excellent. Well, thank you, sir. Have a good day. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, bye.